great to not see you. Welcome back, or welcome to Salt and Sand Studios virtual. Hmm? All right, my name is Karen. This is our yoga intermission back to basics. Really glad to have you here. Good morning if you're here live. Good day or evening if you're here otherwise. Today's back to basics, we're going to start with a few fun things. So have a comfortable seat. You might even, especially if you have placed something underneath your sitting bones to make things a little more comfortable for your hips, you might place another pillow underneath your ankles. Ooh, that feels really good and allows the knees to drop. So the basics today, many of you know them, but sometimes a reminder is helpful. And if you don't know them, you're about to. So a handful of key things. You do not have to remember all of them. I'm going to suggest you select one. So the first basic, the first foundation of yoga is how you use your breath. Now, no saying that we are going to spend time blowing up balloons or breathing as if we are, or even getting a red face. But finding your breath and allowing the breath to come naturally throughout practice, or especially to use the breath, deep breath, or breath practice, breath control pranayama to support the practice. And we'll do a little bit of that in a couple minutes. The other thing is your line of sight. Thankfully, you don't need binoculars to go make that happen, but imagine that you are using the sight to steady the breath and the balance, especially if you're in a standing balance or an arm balance. The breath and a steady gaze can really help you out a lot. Super important is not a magic wand, but thinking about the space, I'm going to go ahead and kneel here, thinking about the space right below the navel, roughly in the low abdominal area, also known as the sacral chakra area. This drawing inward and upward, which tilts the tailbone down. And then also the pelvis, so working the pelvic floor in and up. And then a couple more items. Remember, I don't know if you all had this when you were a kid, but on one door frame, my dad had measurements for when we were growing up. And he would go ahead and have us place the backs of our heads on that. And we'd get as tall as we could, and he would mark it with a chalk line or I'm not sure what. And we would be so excited at how tall we could be or how tall we could get in a household of pretty short people. Which leads me to alignment. Not as if you would have a plumb line handy to check it out, but starting to think about how things stack over one another from the floor upward, or maybe from the top of the head downward, where, for example, just at the back of the ear, down the shoulder to the hip, this plumb line is hard to work on your own. And then finally, I would say, if you think about the two most that I'm sandwiching here, the breath and having a little kindness for yourself. In other words, it's your practice. Everything won't feel right to you. If it feels painful, don't do it, and modify where you can. But remember that it is your body. You have it once for this life. And if you're kind to it, challenge it, but also be kind and don't do things that hurt. So those are the basics. I offer for you to pick one or two of them to focus on in practice: the breath, the gaze, the bandhas, lifting in and up, the tallness, the stackableness, and the heart. And with that, we will go ahead and get started with the breath. A little bit of pranayama before we move into some basic flow in your comfortable seat. Wiggle around a little bit, allow the sitting bones to draw downward. And then see if you can drop the arms. Imagine the arms are super heavy. Let the hands come by the sides to start with. And then if that made you curve forward like a cashew, see if you can lift up, just like I was mentioning earlier from the the low pelvis all the way up to the top of the head. Maybe the hands just rest on the thighs. Close the eyes. Notice the breath without changing it. In this instance, we're using inner sight as opposed to a steady gaze in front of us. Begin to deepen the breath. And imagine that your rib cage is more like gills. So as you breathe, not only are you breathing into the belly and up into the chest and up into the nasal passages, but you're also breathing the body outward. What's the jaw doing? Coming back to the kindness for the self, maybe you can loosen the jaw. Now imagine like the balloon, a huge balloon, you could fill up the body with breath. Breathe in. Sip in a little bit more air. Pause. Lift the back of the head like you're pressing against the door frame. Open the mouth, let the breath go. Another full balloon-like breath. Hold it for a moment. Drop the jaw, let it go. Third time's a charm. Return now to a natural breath, whatever that means for the body here. Notice if there's anything different. That different might simply be in the little toe, or maybe the nasal passages, or maybe the heart feels a little more open. Breathe in, sweep the arms right out of the arm socket sideways. Breathe out. Sit really upright, tailbone tucks down, pelvic floor lifts up, navel lifts in and up, shoulder blades squeeze a little together. All the arms are active, all two of them. On a breath in, float the arms high, press the hands together there. Maybe the chin lifts, maybe it doesn't. Lengthen the arms on the breath out again, imagining that the side bodies are doing the breathing, not just the front body. Another big breath in. Exhale, hands to your heart. Bring an intention to mind for the practice. Maybe it is one of the foundational considerations I mentioned earlier, or maybe it's something else. We'll celebrate that and we'll surround ourselves in our spaces with that intention using a single sound of Om. You can use just an out breath if you prefer, not to chant, but if you would like to. Long, full, deep breath in. Move into a very gentle twist, taking the right hand outside the left thigh. Left hand is behind you, but it is not the support. It is just a guide to move in the direction of the left shoulder. Breathe in, spine lengthens. Breathe out, twist. And we check in like we have a plumb line, allowing the center of the top of the head to be right over the tailbone. An in-breath returns you to center and feel how, like the plumb line, the shoulders are stacked over the hips. Big breath in. Exhale, twist to the other side. Inhale, return to center. Go ahead and find your way to sitting on your heels. I'm just going to shift so that I work my way onto the mat and come sideways to you. You're sitting on the heels. If this does not feel comfortable for the knees, you can roll up a blanket and place it right underneath or right behind the knees, which means the knees bend a little bit less, taking some of the energy out of the knees. You could also sit on a block or a pillow between your feet if that feels better. We're going to go ahead and use the heels of the hands in support of finding a cat shape, a rounded shape into the spine. So bring the heels of the hands to the hip creases. As you next breathe out, press the heels of the hands into the thighs and away from you. Scoop the belly in. You might be lifting the sitting bones and the tailbone a little bit. Drop your head. On an inhale, glide the full palms back toward the hip creases. Heart lifts, maybe the chin lifts. Exhale, heels of the hands press into the thighs and away from you. Breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. Inhale for the cow shape. Exhale for the cat shape. One more time, breathe in, heart lifts. Exhale, neutral spine. So most of the postures that we're working, looking for a neutral, long, straight spine. We're looking for a rounded spine, depending on what you're doing, or we're looking for an arched spine, or maybe we're looking for the twisted spine or the side-to-side movement. But even in the side-to-side movement, unless the posture calls for it or you're instructed, you're going to still work for a neutral spine in terms of its flatness, tallness, but a curved spine, if you will, from left to right. Go ahead and find a tabletop. I'm taking my blanket under my left knee because my left knee is a little sketchy at the moment. Doesn't require too much. And here in tabletop, the wrists are right below the shoulders, the tops of the feet are on the mat, and the knees are not super wide. They're right underneath the hips. Go ahead and tuck the toes under, and almost like you're taking child's pose, balasana, bring the heels toward, bring the sitting bones toward the heels, stretching out the soles of the feet. Oh, that feels so yummy. You might drop the head and maybe find a little nod left and right and up and down. Check in with the hands. Make sure the fingertips are spread a little apart. And maybe you walk the hands forward just a little bit, about an inch. Press the thumb mound and the index finger of each hand really powerfully into the ground. You're still using the whole hand, but working that area the most. We're going to go ahead and breathe out and lift the knees a little bit off the mat so the shins are parallel to the mat. Now press into the heels of the hands and imagine that the elbows are spinning in toward each other. We're really activating the quads here. Deep breath in. Exhale, come all the way to the mat. You might untuck the toes and pat them a little onto the mat. We're going to take that again. Toes tuck. Breathe in. Exhale, lift the knees off the mat. Power up the belly here. Nice deep breath in. Press the heels away from you for downward facing dog. Whoo, find your breath. Maybe you pedal a little into the knees. If you used a prop as I did, set it aside. Take your time finding space. And in the downward dog, if bent knees helps you find a straight spine, go ahead and make that happen. The navel moves in and up. The sitting bones reach to the upper back corner of the room. Drop the head, the gaze between the feet. On an inhale, rise up to the tiptoes. Exhale, bend the knees a lot. Look past your hands, walk to them. A forward fold, Uttanasana. Feet can remain a little ways apart, about a fist's distance apart. Knees are soft, head drops. Maybe a little sway as you catch the texture of the mat underneath your fingertips, or at your fingertips, not underneath them. Pause for stillness. Now imagine you're going to work toward that plumb line along the sides of the body as you press the floor away on a slow breath in to rise upward. Once the shoulders stack over the hips, extend your length by reaching the arms to the sky. Exhale, palms together at your heart. Drop the palms by the sides, palms face forward, mountain pose, Tadasana. You're using all the edges of the feet. You're working that plumb line all up the side bodies, stacking Knees over ankles and hips over knees, shoulders over hips. And then like you are being measured for your height, right against that door frame, press the back of the head toward the door frame. Inhale, sweep your arms high. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. You might have bent knees for that. Guide the hands up to the shins or the thighs for a halfway lift. Pause here. Navel in and up, tailbone behind, crown of the head forward, shoulders toward the hips. Breathe in. Exhale, release and fold. Again, float to standing. Use the arms to make you taller. Pause here. Drop the shoulders a little bit. Breathe in. Exhale, drop the right hand outside the right thigh. Get nice and tall on both sides of the body. We're going to tilt over to the right. Breath out. Heart continues to lift. Breathe in. Exhale, tilt a little bit more. Work the gills, the ribs on the left side. Open, open, open. And then feel that energy spread from the outer edge of the left foot all the way to the pinky finger. Inhale, both arms sweep high. Exhale, left hand, left thigh. We take the time on a full round of breath to find length once more. Inhale. Exhale, tilt over to the left. Heart lifts. Belly in and up. Inhale, float both arms overhead. Exhale, cactus arms. Pause here. What's the belly doing? What is your gaze doing? What is your breath doing? Squeeze the shoulder blades a little bit together. Drop the hands behind you, intertwine your fingers. If you have a natural way, which I do, my left thumb and forefinger are on top, switch that to the awkward way. Inhale, lift the heart. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, tuck the tailbone. Exhale, reach the knuckles toward the mat. Little baby chair pose, Utkatasana. Weight is in your feet as you bend the knees and shift your hips behind you. Belly in and up, maybe a little more of a back bend. Breathe in. If you can, fingers remain intertwined as you fold over the legs. Draw the belly and the rib cage to the thighs. That might mean there's a bend in the knees. The hands float away from the spine. Drop the head. Big breath in. Exhale, hands release to the mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Draw the left foot to the back of the mat as far as you can take it. For balance, you might move the right foot out to the right in this runner's lunge. The fingertips are on the mat or some sort of prop, maybe blankets or a pillow or a block. You're on the ball of the back foot, but you're not letting the knee collapse. You reach the back heel away. Left hand stays down, right arm floats high, a twist. Long spine on the breath in, maybe a little less weight in the left hand. Breathe in. Belly rotates as you twist. Another big breath in. Exhale, right hand to the mat. Left knee drops to the mat. Toes on tuck on the left foot as you shift the left hip directly over the knee. And go ahead and find your half split. You might need to scooch the right foot forward to do that. Draw onto the heel as the toes point toward your torso. Now, rather than rounding into this to really find, the nose coming toward the knee or the shin, you're going to work a long spine. So think about the straight spine shape, which is powered up by bringing the belly in and up, the pelvic lock in and up, and the shoulders toward the hips. So you might not come super low here, and you might find a little bit of the rumble strip on the foot as the muscles work. Big breath in. Exhale, sole of the foot to the mat. Walk the hands forward to frame the front foot. Tuck your back toes under. A long stretch and fold over the front leg. Big breath in. Exhale, fold. On the next breath out, step the back foot halfway up the mat. You might drag it. It takes a warrior one stance with the toes pointing more toward the upper corner of the mat. Right thumb in your right hip crease to draw it behind you. Breathe in, maybe a little half lift. Long spine as you fold for Parsvottanasana. Again, maybe there's a block or something underneath your fingertips. Aiming for a long spine. Maybe that requires a little bend in your front knee. Big breath in. Exhale, back foot steps up to meet the front. There might be space between them, or maybe you bring the outer edges of the feet parallel to the mat by touching the big toes together and leaving the heels a little apart to find chair pose once more. Sink into the chair. Maybe the hands come by your hips to start with, and then float overhead or right out in front. Energy into the heels. Deep breath in. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Find the long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Right foot glides as far to the back of the mat as you can get it. Maybe heel toe the left foot out to the left to increase the balance, left to right. Finding energy from the belly, drawing up. The shoulders draw toward the hips. Right fingertips down. Breathe in. Left fingertips high for your twist. Don't forget about that back knee. Big breath in. Exhale, left hand to the mat. Right knee to the mat for the half split. Right hip over the right knee as the left foot maybe scooches forward a little bit. Toes point toward your torso. Heels working in toward the mat. Spine gets long. A fold. Big breath in. Exhale, sole of the foot comes to the mat. Right toes tuck under. Maybe the hands move forward to frame the front foot to find your long-legged fold over the left leg. Nice wide front to back. Another big breath in. Exhale, the right foot steps halfway up the mat. Toes point to the upper right corner of your mat. Breathe in, a little halfway lift. Thumb into the hip crease to send the hip behind you. Exhale, forward fold. Big breath in. Exhale, right foot steps up to meet the left. Press the floor away to root into the ground and rise to standing. A long, slow inhale. Limbs upper, reach for the stars. Exhale, find a fold. Bowing. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release and fold. We step back 1 foot at a time to a high plank. And check in here with the bum. Shouldn't be way over the shoulders. Should be right around shoulder height, maybe a tiny bit lower. It also should not be collapsed downward by releasing the hips. Maybe the knees drop, untuck the toes. For your chaturanga push-up, heart reaches forward, come halfway down. I have the beauty of the pillow. Inhale, find a little back bend, maybe just a cobra. Exhale, come all the way down to the mat. Toes tuck. Tabletop shape. Downward dog. 3 to 5 breaths here, maybe moving around in the posture. Finding the long spine and space at the low belly. Bring the left foot a little more to the center, left to right of the mat. On an inhale, the right leg floats high. Keep it as long and strong as you can as the toes point downward, and then see what happens to the hip as you point the toes toward the left leg. Big breath in. Exhale, draw your knee to your nose. Round into the spine. Inhale, extend. We're going to find our upright lunge, crescent lunge. The right foot comes inside the right hand. Find your stance first. Foundation is most important. So if you feel like you might be wobbly, move the right foot out to the right. Stay on the ball of the left foot. Maybe hands float by your sides to start. And press yourself to crescent warrior. Cranky shoulders can be alleviated by finding cactus-shaped arms. I'm going to draw the hands to the right hip and find a little twist. Gaze down toward the hands. Come forward, the hands are on the thigh. Gently drop the back knee partway down to the mat. Use the belly, the quads, press the floor away. Crescent legs. Inhale, arms float high. Exhale, hands plant inside your right foot. Heel toe the right foot out to the right. You might lengthen your stance a bit. As you point the toes to the right, right hand comes inside the thigh or the knee for a twist. Big breath in. Exhale, right hand to the mat. Step back, your high plank. Pause. Maybe knees drop. Come halfway down, low plank. Find a back bend, untuck your toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Know that you can always drop into a child's pose or tabletop if needed. And mostly you can take what you need. If downward dog doesn't work, you can take it from tabletop. Right foot moves a little more to the center of the mat. Left leg floats high. Hips stay squared. Turn the left toes more toward the right leg. Breathe in. Exhale, knee to nose, shoulders over the wrists. Power it back out. Crescent warrior, crescent lunge. Finding your foundation. Rise up. Hands come to the left hip, a little twist, gaze down. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands frame your front foot. Oh, forgot to drop that back knee, but we'll live with that. Let's step the left foot back. Big breath in, right to down dog, or maybe chaturanga and a back bend. Make your way back to the front of the mat, a hop, a skip, a walk, a jump, forward fold. Inhale, float to standing. Arms sweep up. Exhale, palms together at your heart. We'll catch that knee drop in a moment. Samastiki. Thumb knuckles toward the heart. Plumb line. Measuring your height. Eyes might close for an inner gaze. And they flicker open. Find the feet at bony hips width distance. Shift your weight into your right foot. Come to the toe, into the left foot, come to the toes of the right foot. Bring the right foot back to the mat. Come to the toes of the left foot. And bring the left foot back to the mat. Now feel what the hips are doing in mountain pose. Hands can drop by your sides if you like. We want to keep that steadfastness, the strength, the power in the standing leg as we go into a balance. But here is where we really work the breath and the gaze. The slower the breath, the steadier your balance. If muscles are fatigued, you might still wobble or fall over. If your gaze is on something moving, you are almost guaranteed to move. It's a nice challenge, but it will super challenge your balance. If you take your gaze about 6 to 8 feet on the ground in front of you, maybe there's a knot hole in the floor, or maybe there's a line in the rug, or whatever you have to find focus, that drishti is what you're aiming for in your standing balance. It can also help to start with the hands at the heart or on the hips. So once again, we're going to shift weight into the left foot, but keep it powered up. Rather than sinking into the hip, la, 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 you're just going to shift the weight. Slowly move the toe to the toes of the right foot and lift the right knee up. Maybe you take a hold of the right knee with one or both hands. If you're stretchy, especially in the hamstrings, you're welcome to reach down for the big toe and lengthen the leg. Either way, we're going to go ahead and draw the leg out toward the right. Only as far as it works for you. Slow, steady breath. Steady gaze, drishti. Activate the quads and hamstrings and the glutes on both legs. Find your way to a tree, placing the right foot inside the right leg, anywhere except on the knee. And it doesn't really matter if you can get it up in the thigh. I got a little wobble going on, so I'm going to work extra energy into my glutes of the standing leg and slow down my breath. Hands can be at your heart, or maybe you grow your tree. Keep engaging the right glutes to draw the knee behind you toward the back of your space. Side ribs like gills. Exhale, hand to your heart. Hands, knee draws back in. Drop the foot. Shake it out. Nice. I couldn't see you, but I'm pretty sure there was some nice balance going on. I'm going to take that to the other side. Bony hips distance for the feet. Hands to your heart or hips. Weight shifts into, well, before we shift the weight, let's find that plumb line once again, stacking the double spaces of joints over one another. Lifting the top of the head, finding the height against the doorway. Hands by your sides, and feeling what the hips are doing before shifting weight into the right foot. Left knee lifts up. Foot is engaged. Maybe one or both hands takes a hold of the knee. If you've sunk into the right hip, activate the glutes and the quad and the hamstrings to support you. Maybe take the toes to lengthen the leg. Long spine, steady gaze. Knee moves over toward the left. Tree pose. Foot to the calf, the ankle. You can even have the toes on the ground. Foot to the inside of the thigh, doesn't matter. Hands to your heart or hips to start. Find steadiness. If you've shifted into that right hip, see if you can power up the leg. Activate the left glutes to draw the knee behind you a little bit more. Beautiful. Maybe grow your limbs. Find branches and leaves. Reaching high, wide side bodies. Hands to your heart, knee up to your heart. Foot returns to the mat, shake it out. Woohoo! It's the end of our standing balance. We're just going to take a couple more standing poses, bring the hands to the hips, and just like we did in the standing balance, we're going to move the left knee in toward the heart, then reach it behind to find crescent warrior once again. Arms float overhead. Because we missed it last time, we're going to go ahead and bend the left knee, straighten it back out, open up for a warrior two. Back foot comes parallel to the back of the mat. You might lengthen the front leg first to bring the hips parallel to the side of the mat, and bend into the front knee. Arms are out, creating this beautiful open shape. Sweet bend in the front knee, lift the right heel off the mat, sink deeper, and keep that deepness as you bring the heel back down. Beautiful. Flip the front palm, reverse the warrior. Imagine that the heart is reaching high. Extra energy into the heel of the back foot. Big breath in and out. Return to warrior two. Arms extend your front leg. Point the right toes now to face in the same direction as the left. Bring the hands to the hips. Point the left toes toward what was the back of your mat, now becoming the front of your mat. And return to a crescent warrior on this side. You might need to move the feet left to right a little farther apart. Left thigh parallel to the mat if you can make it so. Arms float high. Right knee drops partway to the mat. Pause. Extend that right heel. Beautiful. Breathe in. Exhale, step into chair pose, Utkatasana. A little twist. Left arm forward, right arm behind. If it feels right for your body, you might float the left arm high and the right hand down. Chair pose, both arms high. A twist to the other side. If your feet are together, draw the thighs and the knees together. If your feet are not together, keep the knees as right over the middle toe of the foot. Chair pose, rise to standing. Beautiful. Finding your standing balance one more time, shift weight into the left foot, reach the right knee high, float back to crescent warrior. Open up warrior two. I need to make a little more space between my feet, front and back, between crescent and warrior two. Belly strong, tailbone points down, heart lifts, left heel floats off the mat, sink deeper into the front knee, drop the heel, beautiful. Reverse the warrior. Finding that opening again of the heart toward the stars. Maybe your gaze lifts toward your palm. It doesn't need to. Keep using all of the back foot and that leg. Arms return to warrior two. Lengthen the left leg, point the toes in. Both sets of toes now pointing in. Hands to your hips. Keep a really long spine. Maybe poke the fingers in toward the hip creases to reach the heart forward in a halfway down fold. Exhale if you like into a full forward fold. Padottanasana. Hands might walk outside one foot at a time, finding a little more of an IT band stretch. Hands return to center. Point the right toes back to the original front of the mat. Step the left foot up to meet the right. One other thing we need to do, right foot glides to the back of the mat. Heel toe the left foot out to the left. Point the left toes to the left for the twist. It didn't find its way into the same sequence on this side, so we'll take our moment to open up. Bring the left hand inside the left foot. We'll take Malasana squat as a transition pose. Step the right foot outside the right hand. Toes point outward, and maybe you shift a little left and right onto the heel of each foot. And when you're ready, sitting bones settle downward, hands come to your heart, working that long, long spine. Hands return to the mat. Step back for a plank. Pause here. Drop your knees to the mat, untuck your toes. Let the hips shift right over the knees for one of my all-time yumminess favorite poses, Anahatasana inchworm. Tops of the feet are on the ground, hips remain where they are, hands walk forward until the forehead, chin, or chest comes to the mat. Shoulders don't always like this posture, so you can spread the elbows wider, bend them toward the outer edges of the mat, and let the thumbs touch. Gently walk the hands and forearms to be parallel to one another. Then moving the shoulders right over the elbows, extend the legs onto the mat. It might take you a few movements to get the bony hip points onto the mat. Finding a Sphinx pose. This is a place where your mat becomes a really awesome prop. Depending on how sticky it is, you can imagine that the palms are drawing the mat toward you as you send the elbow energy toward your hips. Press the floor away, broaden the collarbones, lift the navel. Go ahead and come all the way onto your front body. Bring the forehead to the mat. Hands come underneath the shoulders, right outside the chest, or maybe they scoot back to the rib cage to find one more back bend. Navel does a little press, like a little spider push-up away from the mat. Imagine that the hips are rolling toward one another in front of you. It lengthens the low spine. Press lots of energy into the tops of the feet. As you inhale, heart lifts forward and up. Maybe a low cobra, maybe a deep cobra, maybe some other back bend. Breathe here. 5, 4, 3, 2. Come all the way down to the mat. Take the left arm long in front of you and press the shoulder away from the mat. Reach the right hand to thread underneath it. And then go ahead and find that this is not foundational. This is a little bit more complex. You're going to guide the left knee in toward the left armpit and then roll onto your back. A little twist. Woo! Palms can face up or down. You might need to tuck the chin toward your chest to get that long back of the neck. And maybe the right shoulder blade shifts outward a little bit. So both shoulder blades start to move toward the mat. Breathe in. Exhale, roll back to your front. Right arm is staying outward. And press the floor away. We'll take that to the other side. Coming fully to your chest. The right arm reaches long in front of you. Press the floor away to thread the needle of the left arm. Drop your chin to the shoulder. Draw the right knee toward the right shoulder so the inner edge of the foot is on the mat. And press the floor away to roll into your twist. It's the modern foundation for yoga. Big breath in. Exhale, return all the way onto the belly. Find a child's pose, balasana. Knees nice and wide. Breath moves all the way into the lower back. Huge breath in. Let it all go. Balasana, one of the basic and most lovely postures of yoga. It is simultaneously relaxing and a good breath practice. We'll find our way to a seat, so you might scoot yourself forward. We'll take one final seated posture before we move to our backs. Sitting up nice and tall. Legs are long in front of you. They're extended. You feel the energy from the heels reaching past the mat. If your back is hunching over, go ahead and find a tiny bit of support in your fingertips to lift the heart. Dandasana, staff pose. Belly strong. Float the arms in front of you. Then lock them into the shoulders. Belly up. Breathe in. Collarbone, smile forward. Exhale, come all the way down to the mat. Arms float overhead, nice and long. Reach the fingers behind you, the toes point in front of you. Big, huge breath in and stretch. Exhale, release it all. One more hip opener before Shavasana, but you might desire to go ahead and gather the knees into the heart first. With knees into your heart, you're tucking the chin toward your chest and maybe rocking a little left and right or finding happy baby. If you like a happy baby, that rock left and right can be a little bit deeper, a little more massage-like on the lower back. We'll all move into Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet come together. Heels are toward the sitting bones. Knees drop out to the sides of your mat. Maybe the palms, to come back to our breath, are right on the hip creases, or breath and kindness for yourself, one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Loosen the jaw. Huge breath in. Let it go. One at a time, lengthen the legs onto the mat. If that feels okay for you, you might stay in Supta Baddha Konasana. Hands can drop by the sides. There's space between the arms and the side bodies, and the palms face upward, receptive. Relaxed. Toes, relax. Quads, relax. Belly melts. Arms and shoulders soften. Back of the head, super heavy. Shavasana. Bring a little control back to the breath to deepen it. The breath invites movement back into the body. Maybe little tiny movements, maybe something larger. Don't curl up onto one side. Take your time. You might only bend one knee at a time. And in this beautiful shape, this never-ending circle of energy, of humanity, of heart, come back to your intention for practice. Press yourself back to a seat, maybe on a prop if need be. Bring your hands to your heart. Spread the arms wide, right out of the shoulder sockets. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale, arms float high overhead. Press the palms together. Breathe in. Breathe out. Long breath in. Hands, bring the thumb knuckles right between the eyebrows for the breath out. May the smiles and joy and opening you found in your practice today be reflected throughout your day. In honor of all of those who have served, with blessings to our entire community, with gratitude to each and every one of you. Namaste. A treat to practice with you on this lovely day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and find some time for yourself, for self-love, self-care, beyond yoga, and for others. Have a really great week, day, month. Thank you.